Alrighty, team. Michael Hatton here, just interviewing Clayton Simpson as part of the NAIDOC Week interviews, as I mentioned in Monday's video to you all. So, Clayton, welcome, mate. How are you?
Yeah, no, all right.
All right, mate. How long have you been working at TSS now?
28th of September I started here, so going on 6 weeks now. Yeah.
Yep. Awesome. And how are you finding it?
Yeah, no, great. Obviously, like with any job, the first couple of weeks is all just, finding out where things are, and I think after a month, I know where to go for certain documents or anything that I'm after. The first couple of weeks obviously was a bit, where is this and that, but yeah.
What are some of the main
on myself to know?
What are some of the main things you deal with day to day?
So what I'm doing is so since I've started, I've helping our company become an accredited engineering organisation. Based on my past positions, I worked for major engineering companies and had a core part in ensuring that we remain compliant and had we maintained our AEO status, so ensuring that conducting internal audits. So that's something that I think that I'd be bringing more onto the company. I want to conduct some internal audits for our jobs. For AEO. There's a lot to do, but things can happen within like 6 months, 12 months down the track, not happen straight away, which is that was just like an expectation of myself for thinking, we need to perform a job audit now for
awesome.
I noticed that we didn't have our job audit register, hadn't been used in a couple of years. That's what I'm getting at. So basically creating a better culture within the company to start using the resources that we have.
So the AEO certification relates to primarily rail work. It's starting to filter across the industry for RMS type work as well. So, all right, awesome. So this interview is part of our NAIDOC Week celebration. So Clayton is Aboriginal. So Clayton, why don't you tell us a bit about your mob and where you grew up and whatnot?
Yeah, so I grew up in Walgett, Western New South Wales, born there. I'm New Elleroy on both my mother and father's side, and Milleroy on my father's side from Moree. We grew up in Walgett. It's a small town, like 2,000 people. Majority of us are Aboriginal in that town. We've got 2 missions, 2 Aboriginal reserves. My family comes there's Gingi and Namai. My family come from Namai Reserve. I grew up in Dubbo as well. Ever since I finished school 10 years ago now. Just been travelling around doing a bit of work here and there, and I found that I've built my CV up around in the engineering and construction industry.
Yep. And what was it like growing up Aboriginal in Walgett?
Well, there's 2 schools in Walgett. A lot of Aboriginal kids Aboriginal kids go to the primary school, and a lot of the non-Indigenous kids go to the Catholic school. There was everyone, it was good in Walgett. We learnt our language, Uelleroy language.
At school?
And at school. And
wow.
That's we're very strong on our culture back home, and that was for everyone. One of the fellows that taught us was an old white fellow from Walgett. His name was Mr. Lillyman. He was an old fellow in a wheelchair that learnt a lot from our old people and taught us kids ourselves. Walgett's very strong culturally. Had a big part to play in Aboriginal affairs nationwide, particularly with the Freedom Rides in 1967. Highlighted, a lot of racial segregation in Walgett. That my parents and grandparents grew up under. So for me, that we knew that there was that segregation there, but not as in your face. There were we had a lot more, I guess, experience of like being fair and equal with who we live with, who we go to school with and whatnot. For example, like we had one white fellow family that went to the school, and there was this one fellow that everyone liked to fight, and I thought I'd fight him one day and he bashed me. Don't have to put that in there. But anyway, like we just went to, I just thought I'd do, because everyone else fought him. I thought I'd fight him, but no, they beat me.
But I suppose what you're saying is, being a smaller town, there was a lot more cohesion between the people in the town.
Yes, most definitely, and nothing to do with we didn't really grow up with much segregation, and it still isn't. It's not like that now in Walgett compared to what my parents and grandparents lived under.
Yep, and I suppose just a bit more background on Walgett. Out around Walgett, it's famous for the boars as well, the artesian boars.
Yep,
you would have had a bath in a boar a few times.
Yep, a couple of months ago, went back out there to the boar baths, and it's lovely. But I don't know, they might not be around for a lot longer, the boar baths, because they're capping all the balls, because
gotcha.
A lot of it's getting released.
So for anybody there, just Google image artesian boar, and Walgett's got a few good ones around there. I've been to a few of them, and Walgett's also
we've got a lot of opals out. It's all on opal country, so the black opal, we got black opal out of Walgett, and that's the most prized or valued gem in the world, going up to $40,000 a carat, or a gram, sorry. But there's a lot of opportunities back at home on the banks of the two rivers. That's what Walgett means in our language, meeting at the two rivers, the Namai and Barwon River. But unfortunately, we've had a lot of mismanagement with our water, and Walgett ran out of water, has had literally no water for the past 12 months in both the rivers. So we've got a project going on back home now to increase the weir, so that we can have sustainable town water instead of relying on bore water to drink.
All right, and so
sorry, mate, you asked about Walgett.
Mate, that's where you grew up, and that's what we want to know.
We are having a lot of issues at home in Walgett that we in the city we take for granted. For example, there's no shops or anything like that, and when the COVID crisis hit Walgett, I played a major role in travelling back home to provide basic. Like I went out to Paddy's Markets and done some like food boxes and hand them out to Gingy and Namai. But the main thing was like health items, because when the COVID hit, we had no IGA, 100, 200 kilometres to the next town to get a feed or to get, groceries and whatnot. And just a lot of us from the city has travelled back home to, help our community.
Not a problem. So I would encourage you, if you need to do that again, to have a chat with Chris and Gary. And they might be able to, there might be some other people in the organisation, maybe even put out an all users email and see who's available to help. And like we kind of say, there's other things out there at Walgett. There's other things out there at Walgett to have a look at as well. And if they're going with you, maybe there's some cultural things that you could show us as well. Yeah, no,
well, surprisingly, we've just got a proposal to do a survey out in Walgett for the missions for the New South Wales Government Road to Homes project. So if we're successful in that, obviously that'll be be an experience, for our team to, contribute and, build more on our Aboriginal engagement.
Maybe we could get you to do a bit of a video, and you could go out there if we get the job, and just a bit of a video about Walgett and your school that you went to, and
yeah, no.
There we go.
I'll usually say no to that, but when it's come to my place, where I'm from and all that, we need to get more good news stories out from those small Aboriginal communities.
All right, and why is NAIDOC Week important to you?
I was reflecting on this morning. Like, I think my generation, like from, I don't know, what am I? The millennials. I'm a millennial. So in my generation, I think has played a major role in like shifting more on NAIDOC. For example, like, you know, we've got NAIDOC week this week and whatever, but there's a lot of young Aboriginal companies coming about, creative design companies that are challenging the content of NAIDOC. So there's a company called Nungala Creative, a friend of mine from Tennant Creek. Yeah, she's created her own design company to, and what she's doing with it is, so with NAIDOC Week, I'll give you an example actually. Yeah, I just think like young people my generation are doing more for NAIDOC than what others have thought about. So like, for example, here we've got Amplify Aboriginal Voices for NAIDOC Week. So it's just, you know, providing more awareness of like who we are, what we have out there, and what that's done is like, what that platform has done for that's been created by young Aboriginal people is sharing, you know, opportunities between one another. It's providing like, you know, to donate to Aboriginal like campaigns and whatnot. But yeah, it's just, I'm going off. It's got really. That's just what I think of what young people are doing with NAIDOC. Personally, like when I grew up in Walgett, we didn't have NAIDOC. We never had NAIDOC. NAIDOC was not a thing to us. It was called Aboriginal Day, and it was called A Day. And yeah, NAIDOC was a thing that just that I learnt about over the past 10 years. But yeah, growing up as a kid, it was never NAIDOC to us. It was A Day. And what we did, it was at the start of the year, and we'd have, you know, everyone, black, white, or brindle, come to the school, and we'd all have like a theme to learn about. And like, even though we lived in a small Aboriginal community in Walgett, we were encouraged to learn about other countries around the world.
Yeah, awesome.
And yeah, no, so that's just, so for me, I remember we done like Japan when I was in year 1, and that was for Aboriginal Day. Yeah, no, so it was just more about like showcasing our local culture, but, you know, learning more about other cultures around the world. Yeah, so NAIDOC is sort of like a new thing to me. I'm more connected with A Day, and then they changed the name like 10 years ago. But yeah, personally, my pop sister, Auntie Christine Williams, she was the co-chair of NAIDOC in the NAIDOC committee in from 2002 2005, and she helped bring it into NAIDOC Week. So before that, it wasn't a day like NAIDOC Day, A Day, and then yeah, from 2005 onwards, it's become, you know, more of a celebration, a week celebration.
Yep.
Yeah, no, I think it's good that we have it and whatnot. You know, provides awareness, and it gives. It's, these days, it's allowing corporate companies and whatnot to get, I don't know, put more involvement in Aboriginal engagement.
Yep. All right. What's it like being Aboriginal and working at TSS?
Well, what's it like being Aboriginal? I don't. Yeah, I think I don't know really how to answer that, but you know, it's just like if I was like from a Lebanese background or Greek background, I don't. There's only certain things that only Aboriginal people can understand or relate to, or that Greek people can only relate to. Yeah, so there's the best thing I love about being Aboriginal is like you can go to anywhere, walk down the street, go to a Woolies or whatever, and you see someone that, if I just seen you in the street, Michael, and you know, if I never knew you before this, and I just seen you in Woolies, you know, filling up your bag in the self-service checkout, like I look at you and go, "Hey, go, mate, like you're a black fella," you know, like that little connection, like that's a big thing for me. And it's like here, it makes you feel good knowing that, and people can pick other black fellas. For example, like first time it ever happened to me, and I took note of it, was when I was in year 11. I came down to Sydney for school for year 11, and me and my mate, we went to the local shops after school, and I seen this Korean woman walking towards me there, and I smoked cigarettes at the time, and I said, "Oh, aunt, you got a smoke?" And she said, "Yeah, son, you know, yeah, here's one for your mate." And my mate goes, "Oh, is that your auntie?" And I was like, "Oh, I don't know who she is, you know, she's just an Aboriginal person." And that's how we go. That's how we connect with each other. And, you know, it's just something that I never took note of, because it's just always, you know, been organic to me to have that, you know, feeling or connection with other Aboriginal people. But yeah, and that's the thing too, like, you know, I'm not your stereotypical Aboriginal, but we know who is.
Yeah.
You know, we know who's Aboriginal and who's not, and even those who aren't. Yeah, so that's
good.
the big.
So that actually,
all day, you know? That's why I said I'll write. I'm a good writer, straight to the point. You know, but,
no. All right. So that gets me to another point, actually, and you gave me an idea for a question. You just mentioned there that there's a lady that you don't know, but she's obviously a bit older than you, and you strategic call her auntie. And so I was supposed to explain to people in TSS what happens is that the parents of the world, let it be the 30-year-olds and the 40-year-olds, they're kind of all mums and dads, and they're all mums and dads. And then so everybody that is a mum and dad, then everybody younger than them is a son and a daughter. It doesn't matter that they're not your son and your daughter. They're your son and
you look after them.
That's Aboriginal. And so then the younger kids might be your sons and your daughters as well. And so then the older people are the grandfathers and the pops and the nanas. And it doesn't matter if they're not your blood. And so this actually has issues with, I don't know, our family, my cousin's been doing a fairly big family tree, and it's hard to work out who was brothers and sisters back in the, 50 or 100 years ago, because they were all brothers, and that was my sister. It wasn't your blood sister, but no, she told me that was her sister. And so, so have you got an example? Hang on a sec.
A lot of it is also with might be a marriage group. So like for us, like I'll be honest, like I'm the one that stopped engaging in tribal marriage. My mum and dad, they're together because of dad's Māori and mum's Mata. And my mum and then my dad's parents, they married tribal way too. Like and so like Nan's Kapatha and Pop's Gubby, just on my dad's side. So like that, and there may be like thousands of other people who are also Gubby, and they might be blood related, but they're related through that marriage link.
Yep.
They're not blood related, but they are related through that marriage law. That's the law.
Yeah. And then there's wrong way.
Yeah, well that's it too, you know. Yeah.
Wrong way is a term when you you marry someone
cousin and you don't even know. Yeah. You make sure that you go through your family trees and all that.
All right. Thank you very much, Clayton, and thank you TSS for listening.
All right, thank you. Take care, Mike.
Thank you.